Hello everyone, my name is Max Bone, and this is going to be my presentation for the module Literature in Practice, detailing my creative project. I decided that for this my roles would be an amalgamation of a writer, an editor, and a social media manager of a blog and Instagram page surrounding current news, events, and issues within the transgender community. I chose this because I am transgender myself, and it is a subject matter that is important to share, and I believe I am in an advantageous position to do this. It's important for the transgendered community to have such a resource, but also for allies as well. Firstly, I decided to do a creative project because I believed that the opportunity to be independent and act as my own boss would be beneficial in developing my time management and organisation skills, which are two things that I have struggled with in the past. I think that it really allowed me lots of creative freedom and independence, and especially in the times of the pandemic, it allowed me to organise my time efficiently and effectively. A skill that I hope to carry into a workplace environment in the future. Being able to work from home as well allowed me a flexibility that I think would have hindered me if I had not been strict with my time management. So, my initial inspiration for the blog stemmed from my friend Eleanor Medhurst, who runs a lesbian fashion history blog and Instagram page titled Dressing Dykes. I think her work is fantastic, and it raises awareness of lesbians throughout history and how their dress directly represented them and their identities as lesbians or women loving women. It's so important and crucial for the lesbian community to have such a resource, and I inspire to create a blog of the same kind of importance and relevance to the community that I'm in, the transgender community. During my research, it became clear that there are very little instances of resources that are unbiased and clear. And what I mean by this is that often private gender clinics, such as the London Transgender Clinic, uses their social media platforms to educate and provide insight on the transgender experience, specifically surrounding hormones and surgery. While this is absolutely fantastic, it's informative and educational, it can often be interpreted as an advertisement for their services, their hormone specialists, and the surgeon that they work with, instead of unbiased education. It can cause a lot of pressure to be put on the reader to want to go with these companies. So my aim was to fill the niche, to provide a somewhat impartial blog. I say somewhat impartial because I am a transgender man, so obviously I have a lot of passion in the subject, where transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming individuals and allies can find information and resources. I chose to name the blog Transparency for use of the literal word, the literal meaning of transparency, as well as the play on words. The first syllable here is a reference to being transgender, indicating that the blog is for a specific community and its allies. This, of course, isn't completely obvious. I wanted this to be a subtle play on words rather than an obvious one, and I very much struggled deciding on the name for my blog. As part of having so much independence, every small decision fell to me, and this amount of responsibility was daunting, but also incredibly rewarding. In the past, when working for others, I didn't have full creative control over any decision, really. So I was therefore grateful for the opportunity to develop the skill of rational and logical decision making without the assistance from others. I think personally that I work best in a teamwork environment. So initially the autonomy felt intimidating and stressful at times. However, I was able to overcome these feelings and produce a blog with a post that I put time and effort into and that exclusively belongs to me and that I am proud of. An issue that I ran into fairly early on in my creative project was that of which platform to use. I had initially settled on Edublogs, as this was the site that was recommended for use for another part of the module. I quickly realised, however, that the interface isn't user-friendly, really, and it was difficult for me to have complete agency over how the site would look. I therefore decided to use Tumblr.com for my blog. As it is a site that I have used personally for many years, I felt comfortable with the customization tools provided, and I didn't want to struggle through trying to get Edublogs to work, so I felt like this was the best option for me. It is also easily linkable to the Instagram account that I created to go along with it. I was able to link the two together with relative ease. The topic for the first blog post was to be the current phenomenon that can be seen in the LGBTQIA+ spaces, where many people who previously had never questioned their gender, either before or even at the beginning of the pandemic, and after having been away from friends and family for a long time, realised that they were trans, non-binary, or gender non-conforming. I really wanted to discuss this, as I had not seen many other conversations taking place about this, other than on the social media platforms, and I think it has value in the meaning of what gender is and what it means to individual people. Despite my enthusiasm, however, there are little resources that I could find of an academic nature that I would be able to use to support my blog post. It would not have been professional of me to post about such a large happening and event without sources to back up my claims, especially on my very first blog post. I found that reading Judith Butler's Performative Acts and Gender Constitution, an essay in phenomenology and feminist theory, was really helpful for me, as it gave me an insight into a theory that supports the idea of gender being a performance, and the lack of social interaction during the lockdown and quarantine provided many people with a valuable insight into their gendered, social and personal behaviours and expressions, and whether or not this aligns with the gender they were assigned at birth. I also found a few articles from places like Vice.com that detailed this happening. And, of course, I tried to reference TikTok accounts of the people who had made these videos about their own personal experiences. And I asked for permission from these creators before referencing them in my blog. To conclude, I feel as though I have developed a wide range of skills through undertaking this creative project. I have gained experience in marketing, writing, editing, and sharing my work on a public online platform, and I feel more prepared to enter the workplace with this skill set under my belt. Obviously, I'm on a creative writing course, so I did already have experience in these things, but being able to develop them further under my own scrutiny and my own time was really beneficial to me, and I'm really grateful that I had the experience to do this module whilst being able to work from home and keep myself safe in this pandemic. And I hope you all can do the same going forward. And thank you ever so much for listening.